Hello and welcome. Now in this video we're going to be talking about the optimal computer setup, and that is to use multiple screens if you're not doing that already. One of the first things that best practice when you are using Kamtazia 9 is that you make the use of multiple screens, and that can be the screen on your laptop as well as a monitor. It can be the screen on your desktop as well as another monitor. It can be two monitors. The fact of the matter is that you need to make use of multiple screens if you're going to be most effective in screencasting. And making those monitors available and making them work with your operating system is very easy to do in Windows and Mac. In fact, Windows and Mac operating systems make accommodations for people who use multiple screens. They anticipate that you're going to make use of multiple screens. An additional monitor is not expensive, so probably you're talking in the area of $50 used, maybe $100 new. Typically, an additional monitor can be picked up for as little as $50 used and $100 new. Now, you're going to want to purchase as high of a resolution that you can when you get the monitor, and we're going to say that at minimum, you should be looking for 1920 by 1080 pixels. That is probably the standard at which you're going to be producing videos and that you want to edit your videos. And if you have a laptop that has that resolution, then you want to be able to use your screen effectively using the same resolution. Here's what multiple screens do. They allow you to toggle back and forth between notes and screens and other things that will help you to create your video. For example, you're looking at the recording toolbar here, and we have been able to move this back and forth due to the multiple screen environment. And what this does is this allows you to focus on what you are describing, and it also gives you some alternatives, especially when you're using the screenwriting tools and everything else that you're going to be using as you start to screencast. In fact, it's going to make it very easy for you to be able to do PowerPoint videos. And one of the things that you have probably noticed, and maybe you noticed in one of the previous videos in the basic course, is that you can switch back and forth between the presenter view as well as the display view. And this really does help you to be able to monitor where you are. So for example, you were looking at a slide presentation, and when you have a multiple screen environment, you can actually look over to the right and know what's coming next. You can actually start to plan in your mind as to what you're actually going to be saying about what you're going to be describing to your audience. And this is especially helpful when you're screencasting. But we're going to go ahead and switch back to the presenter view. Of course, if you can make use of three monitors, you can be even more efficient because you can spread some of the load across three monitors and be effective. In some case, if you have a document you're referring to during your PowerPoint presentation, as well as having that PowerPoint staging area, as well as having your presentation, again, taking advantage of multiple screens is a very effective way of being able to use Kamtazia. And this does not have to be expensive or fancy. You can have something as simple as an old monitor as well as an old laptop. The most important thing when you are projecting and when you are presenting is that you have these multiple screens. And as long as they can be side by side and be next to each other, this will allow you to toggle back and forth and to be able to refer to things and to be able to be effective when you are communicating. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, in this best practices video, we're going to be talking about making sure that your recording computer is going to be at eye level. Now, if you're going to appear in your tutorial videos on camera, and that means whether you're going to appear fully as the subject of the video or whether or not you're going to appear in the corners we've talked about, you need to make sure that your computer is going to be at eye level. And mainly, you want to make sure that your camera is going to be at eye level, because whenever you are actually going to be talking to your audience, you should be looking directly into the eye of the camera because that will then give the effect that you are actually talking to them. One of the things that is difficult about screencasting is that you can often, without necessarily trying to do so, look in a different direction. You can look off to the side, and it is distracting to the people who are actually watching your video. So 2 things that you need to do. Number 1, make sure that you're going to bring your computer to eye level, and then wherever your webcam is, you want to make sure that you are able to look directly into it so that you can be direct and connecting with the people who are going to be watching. Now, this whole setup is important for reading and navigational purposes too. So if you are actually scrolling through your points when you're talking on PowerPoint, it's more effective if you can see them and that they're at eye level. If you're not looking up at them, you're not looking too far down at them. Having them directly in front of them is very important. Now, in order to get your computer to eye level, you can purchase items from office supply stores, or you can use books to stack until you get to the right height. Now, once you discover the right height, that needs to be a short-term solution. So all you're doing with the books is you're determining how high it is. You want to measure that. You want to know exactly how tall that is, because that's what you're going to go and take to the office supply store. In the long term, the kind of solution that you want is going to be something that allows your laptop to be high at eye level, but it needs to breathe so it won't overheat. So you don't want to have your laptop so it's sitting on top of something that will not allow the fan to cool it off. You want to make sure that it's open and that it's really running over something that is porous or already has holes in it. Again, just as we discussed in the last video, this does not have to be, and it shouldn't be, an expensive solution. Now, the one you're about to see costs about $3, and that's about as much as you have to pay. Notice how the area right behind the screen, it's breathed, it's porous, and it has holes in it, so the laptop can actually breathe. And it also raises the level of the laptop so that you can see eye level, so you can see the webcam if necessary, so you can read properly. You can actually have a real conversation with the people that are going to be watching your video. And you can see it a little better here. Again, notice the fact that this allows the laptop to breathe. There isn't a problem with overheating. And one of the things that happens over time is if you have a laptop and you don't allow it to breathe, you will cause problems with that laptop overheating, shortening the life of your laptop, having to buy other pieces, when really this is a really simple, very inexpensive solution that will help you to do that, while at the same time really bringing your PC to the level where you can actually use it. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Hello and welcome. Now in this best practices video, we're going to be talking about your microphone in terms of the optimal computer setup. Now, if there's any one discussion that you probably see amongst entrepreneurs and anyone who is doing anything online when it comes to multimedia, it's about finding the best mic for your recordings. And sound quality is important, but there are going to be some other considerations with you using Kamtazia 9. If you can have a place where you have absolute silence, any cardioid mic, such as the AT2020, the Blue Yeti, or any of those mics that are USB mics, they're going to produce great sound. However, depending on where you work from, it will probably be rare that you are going to have absolute silence, and sometimes mics like the AT2020 or the Blue Yeti, they will pick up background noise. And it's for that reason that we're going to suggest an alternative, and that alternative is a headset. In fact, a Plantronics headset, which we will show you here in a minute. Now, you're going to want to get the one that costs about $30 instead of the least expensive one. Now, the Plantronics headset plugs into your computer's stereo jack, so it does not plug into the USB port. It basically means you are not going to be using a USB mic. And this is important because a USB mic will always take up processing resources while you record. And when you actually choose to appear in your video, whether or not you're the subject of that video or you're appearing off to the side, this one fact is going to be very important because screencasting software like Kamtazia is going to be computer resource intensive. And that means then that your video is going to have latency mismatches where your video is doing one thing and your voice is doing another thing, and that happens often when you use USB microphones. Now, a stereo mic avoids this problem. Now, yes, you are going to sacrifice some quality, but not really that much, and it's always going to be good enough for a solid tutorial. And the other thing that headsets like this do extremely well is noise cancellation, and will not require you to have absolute silence where you're recording from. Regardless of what kind of headset you purchase, make sure you get something that will help you to block out noise on your mic, and that'll also reduce pops in your recording. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do when you are screencasting, particularly with Kamtazia 9, is that you want to position your mic away from your mouth directly. This is going to keep you from producing pops. Now, let's take a look at the mic. Again, we're not talking about a huge expense, and these mics are readily available, very inexpensive. And what you'll notice again is that these mics plug into the stereo jack. They do not plug into the USB jack. The latency issue is a big one, and you'll often see it when people are producing video and they have a tutorial video where they appear in that video. Unless you have a massive amount of computing power, you want to make sure that you are making the most of your resources. And if you want to get started using Kamtazia 9 before you go out and get a powerful computer, you can do that if you use the stereo jacks in your microphone. And again, here are very inexpensive alternatives to be able to add to your mic, to slide right over to the mic head. And again, this will help you to avoid pops. It'll help you to block out some of the noise while you're talking. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.